You are standing at a counter counting cash. You wanted the big pack, the one that works out to $1 a roll. But the big pack costs $9 more today, and today you do not have $9 more. So you buy the small one. You pay $2.49 for one roll. The person who could spare $9 this week paid $1 a roll. Same store, same product, same shelf. You paid 2.5 times as much, not because you wasted money, because you did not have enough of it to buy it the cheap way. This is the part almost nobody names out loud. Being broke is not just stressful, it is expensive. There is a price for having no cushion, and it is charged to the people least able to pay it. Economists have a flat little name for it, and in the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you exactly how it works, what it costs in real numbers, and the single boring move that switches it off. It is not a budget. It is not a side hustle. It is a number, and it is probably smaller than you think. Let me start with the version of this you have probably lived. You are fine, not rich, not drowning, fine. And then something small breaks. The water runs cold on a Tuesday. Here's the part I want to be honest about. This next stretch is an illustration, not a reported case. I am building a typical chain of events, the kind that happens to millions of households, so you can see the mechanism. The numbers are realistic, but treat them as an example. The water heater needs a $40 part, but the plumber will not come for the part alone. And you cannot do it yourself, and the appointment is 2 weeks out unless you pay the emergency rate. So you wait, and the slow leak finds the floor, and the floor finds the subfloor, and the $40 part becomes a $1,400 repair. That is the shape of it. The problem was never expensive. The waiting was expensive, and while you waited, the rest of the month kept moving. The card you used to cover groceries carried a balance. The balance carried interest. The checking account dipped under zero for 2 days, and the bank did what banks do. None of these numbers is dramatic on its own. A late fee here, a little interest there, a small overdraft, but stacked together over a single bad month, they are a tax on not having a cushion. And here is the cruelty of the math. If you had simply had enough cash sitting in an account, the $40 part stays a $40 part. The plumber comes Thursday, the floor stays dry, the card stays at zero, the bank has nothing to charge you for, the same exact life, a completely different bill. The difference between those 2 months was not income, it was timing. And cash is what buys you timing. This pattern is documented, it has a name. Researchers call it the poverty premium, sometimes the cost of being poor, sometimes more bluntly, the poor pay more. It is the simple, well-studied observation that having less money makes almost everything cost more. More per unit, more in fees, more in interest, more in penalties. In the United Kingdom, where this has been measured carefully for years, researchers at the University of Bristol estimated the poverty premium at roughly £490 per year for a typical low-income household. That is a United Kingdom number, so do not import the exact figure, but the mechanism is identical here, and you can watch it operate in plain American data. For this video, I went through the Federal Reserve's Household Survey, the Bureau of Labor Statistics spending data, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's research on fees. I am not reading a hot take. I am reading what these institutions publish about themselves and about us. The pattern is not a secret. It is just buried under a lot of pages nobody has time to read. Here is the mechanism in 3 pieces. 1. Fees land hardest on the lowest balances. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that a small slice of customers, the people most often near zero, paid the overwhelming majority of all overdraft and non-sufficient funds fees, with a median cost in the hundreds of dollars a year. 2. Borrowing is most expensive for people with the least. The headline example is the payday loan, where a short-term advance can carry an annual percentage rate around 400%, but it shows up everywhere quieter too, in subprime car loans, in deposits you cannot put down, in the warranty you buy because you cannot risk the repair. 3. You buy the expensive way because the cheap way needs cash you do not have, the small size instead of the bulk size, the pay-as-you-go plan instead of the annual one, the $15 of gas instead of the full tank. Every one of these is a small surcharge for not being able to pay up front. That roll of paper towels at the start, that was the poverty premium. You just did not have its name yet. So who is on the other side of this? This is the part I want to be careful and fair about, because the answer is not a cartoon villain. The fees are disclosed, the interest rates are printed, the unit prices are right on the shelf, nobody is hiding the math. The system is not built on a lie, it is built on a calendar. The profit comes from timing. When your money arrives after your obligations are due, every gap becomes a fee, and every fee is revenue for someone. Banks earn on the overdraft, lenders earn on the interest, retailers earn the margin on the small size. None of them has to trick you. They only have to wait for the week your timing is off, and the single thing that takes you off that meter, the thing that makes your money arrive before the bills instead of after, is a cushion of cash. That is the whole game. So how much cash actually switches this off? Here's where most advice fails you. You have heard, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. It is good advice and a terrible starting line, because for a lot of households, 3 to 6 months is a number so large the brain just gives up. So forget the slogan. Let me give you a way to find your number, and let me show you the assumptions, because the assumptions are where honesty lives. First, the floor, the smallest version. The Federal Reserve asks Americans every year whether they could cover a $400 emergency with cash. In the most recent survey, about 37% said they could not do it with cash alone. And when asked the largest emergency they could handle from savings, roughly 1 in 6 said under $100. So the very first milestone is not glamorous. It is the boring, life-changing line of having enough cash that a $400 surprise is an annoyance, not a crisis. If you are below that, that is the entire goal. Nothing else. Just get the surprise to stop turning into a spiral. Second, the real buffer, the one that takes you off the timing meter for good. Your number is personal, and you can build it in about 90 seconds. Take what you actually spend in a month, not what you wish you spent. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts average household spending at about $6,500 a month, but for the lower earning third of households, it is closer to $2,900. Most of you are somewhere in that range. So 1 month of your expenses is somewhere between roughly $3,000 and $7,000. 2 months, double it. That is your target band, not a magic universal number. Your number tied to your life. Now the bad weather case, because every honest plan has one. If 1 to 2 months feels impossible right now, you do not wait until it is done to get the benefit. The protection is not all or nothing. The day you cross the line where a $400 problem stops becoming a $1,400 problem, that day, the poverty premium starts switching off. Every dollar in that account is buying back a little more of your own timing. And one rule, So the buffer actually works. It is boring on purpose. It sits in a high yield savings account or a money market fund where it is safe and you can reach it in a day. It is not invested in the stock market. It is not your retirement account. Its job is not to grow. Its job is to be there. Now, back to the question under all of this. People think the line between broke and stable is income, earn more, and the premium goes away. But you just watch two households with the same problem, the water heater, the small surprise, the bad week, pay two completely different prices. The only difference was a few $1,000s of cash sitting still. That is the part almost nobody tells you. The first real raise you give yourself is not at work. It is the moment your money starts arriving before the bills instead of after. Because the poverty premium is not charged for being poor. It is charged for being exposed, and cash is the only thing that ends the exposure. That is why this number matters more than almost any investment you will ever pick. Not because it makes you rich, because it is the first dollar amount that stops you from quietly losing money you never see leave. You are standing at a counter, counting cash, except this time there is a cushion behind you, a few $1,000s sitting still in an account that does nothing exciting. So you buy the big pack, $1 a roll. The cheap way, finally available to you because you can afford to buy it the cheap way. Nothing about your income changed. Something about your timing did. Being broke is not just a lack of money, it is a price you pay on every dollar until you build the cushion that ends it. So that is the small bleeding and how to stop it. But once the bleeding stops, a bigger question shows up, the one that actually decides whether you ever pull ahead. It is not a fee, it is a purchase. The single most expensive thing most people buy on a payment plan, financed like it is an investment, when it is the one thing guaranteed to be worth less tomorrow. Two people, same paycheck, make two different choices about it and end up into completely different futures. I'll keep reading the fine print.